Your objective today is to solve polynomials. So we're talking about solving polynomials, and these are ones that are in factored form. In factored form. So your objective is to solve. One thing that you need to have in your notes is what the zero product property is. And it's the number which makes the binomial equal to 0. It's recording everything. Okay.
If you are, hello, School Lou. My name is Ashley.
Okay, so what you need to know about the x-intercept.
I wasn't done.
All right. So when you find these two results by using the zero product property, what you're really finding are the x-intercepts, and that is where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. Because remember, we were graphing these using the vertex formula and finding the line of symmetry and mirroring it. So what we're doing by setting it equal to 0 using the zero product property is finding where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. Another vocabulary word that you need to know besides this is factored form. And factored form, and I'll write it out here. Okay. So factored form is when a polynomial is written as a product of two or more binomials. And we're going to see examples of these in a second. Because the next thing I'm going to give you are the steps to solve so that you're able to do that. when you're done writing this down, put your pencils down so I know I can move on. Maggie, that's why I don't want you to sit there. Okay, is anyone, Angela, you still writing? The solutions are called the intercepts or the roots. So these two solutions that you're finding are called roots. Are we good?
Yes. You're gonna learn to replay your video to us?
On School Loop.
Why on school? Why not right now?
Because she's already taught.
I'm ready. Remember the executing and she was recording it? It was in last year because she was actually recording. Tomorrow's pretty little nice Halloween special.
You have two choices. So there's two steps. You set each binomial equal to 0, and then you solve for the variable. And again, you're finding the roots of where the quadratic would intersect with the x-axis.
So all these are factors.
You're factoring. You're still factoring to find different pieces of the graph.
It's the one with the number on top and the number on the bottom, right?
This is zero product property. All right, here's example 1. We have x plus 1, and we have x plus 3. Now, you know how to do the box to multiply this to get it into the quadratic. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the zero product property to find the two roots. So what's step 1? Excuse me? Could you read step 1 that you just wrote in your notes? So set each binomial equal to 0. So I have x plus 1 equals 0, and I have x plus 3 equals 0. What's step 2, 1? Solve for the, okay. So we subtract 1, x equals negative 1. So
And it's just 1 over.
So the solutions, and the two places where this would cross the x-axis would be at negative 1 and negative 3. So to factor this, to find out what the quadratic would look like, if we have x plus 1 and we're multiplying it by x minus 3, what do we have in our first box? X squared? Is this x, negative 3x, and minus 3? So the factored form of this is x squared minus 2x minus 3. So the quadratic that we would graph is x squared minus 2x minus 3. And the two roots where that would touch the x-axis would be at -1 and -3. So it's kind of narrow, isn't it? -1 and -3 are kind of close to each other. So that means that when it opens, it's going to come through pretty skinny. It's going to be a skinny parabola. Any questions on that example? Example 2. Can anybody do this without pen and paper? And tell me the two solutions.
It's actually
-2 plus 4.
Excuse me?
-2.
Yeah, -2
Positive 4.
and 4. Exactly. Because if you set x plus 2 equal to 0, you should be able to figure that out. Okay, here's an example of one that you might see in your assignment. It's one where that has you might see this in your assignment where it happens to have a number outside.
Don't you just distribute 2
Uh,
and 8?
You imagine that the 2 doesn't exist.
So there. So it's just gonna be -4 and +5.
We don't have to do the bottom. Like the first step.
Like we need a task to
Like if it was 2x.
and then
If it has a variable, that's a whole different problem, but it doesn't. So we can imagine that it's divisible. And then we answer as usual. What would we think the answer would be? Yeah, the solutions? -4 and 5. Good. So this particular parabola, if the legs of the parabola are going to go through -4 and 5, is that fat or skinny? Imagine the x-axis, -4 and 5,
oh we skinny.
-4 and 5.
Oh no, we
Wider. Yeah, it's wider. The one we did before was -1 and -3. Well, those are almost near each other. So this one isn't particularly wide. Abigail, got that down? Who is still writing? Don't you?
Will we, is there gonna be more than that? So it's all we know, all we do?
Waiting for Chris. Yeah. You almost got it, Chris? What example are we on?
4.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
3.
Well, 4, we just did 3. On 4.
That's our question.
Yes, it's a trinomial represented
Positive 7 and positive 7.
exactly by two binomials. So this is the same as saying x minus 7 and x minus 7, correct?
Yes.
All right, set it equal to 0. What's the answer? So our two solutions are 7 and 7. Because we would have to add.
I can't wait till my
Is anyone still writing? Okay, example 5.
I really don't know. Oh, be x2 and x positive 2. Positive 4.
So now we need to figure out how to take this and go backwards.
Isn't it just still x2
Don't you just
plus
add
x
parentheses?
and then plus 2, 12.
How do we go backwards and find?
Subtract x.
So what multiplies together to make 12 that when you subtract it, it makes the 1 for the invisible 1 that's there?
13.
Somebody have an idea? What times what makes 12?
Oh, I thought it was
3 times 4. So if we do minus 3, if we do minus 4 and plus 3, is this going to make our negative x in the middle? What's negative 4 and positive 3 is negative 1, so yes it does. So if this is what multiplies to make the trinomial, these are the binomials that multiply to make the trinomial, what are the roots?
4 and negative
Correct. Because you take the opposite. You set x minus 4 equals 0, add 4 to both sides. Okay. Example 6. Is anyone still writing example 5?
No.
Raise your hand when you think you have them.
This positive 4.
Clearly you didn't do the steps. What's step 1?
You must set
Set each binomial equal to 0. What's step 2? Solve for the variable. Follow the steps.
It'll be 2x, and then subtract 4, right? It'll be 2x subtract 4, and it'll be 3x plus 9. The other one, no. It's not. It's 2x subtract. Oh, don't you do
Follow the steps.
You have to subtract 4.
You have to follow the steps. And when you're done following the steps, and you think you have the 2 roots, let me know.
Can you not? I'm waiting my turn.
Is it a privilege to sit at that table?
I can't.
Is it?
That table.
Is it?
I guess so.
Then behave accordingly. So this is our basic solving that we've done before.
-2 and
And then 3. So it'll be -2, and then
it's gonna be -2 and 3. Right? Bravo. You didn't record that, Miss Goodwin. -2 and 3.
It's not even recording you.
I know it's not. But I really don't know.
What is the camera looking at?
We've been recording for 22 minutes.
Yeah, but you're not recording us.
It records everything.
Oh.
So Nikita and Maggie do not like being recorded, noted for the record. Okay, so does everyone have that down? Easy, medium, or difficult? Okay, example 7. Chris, you got it down?
No.
Bianca, you're not even writing.
Yeah, yeah.
are 2 and 6 solutions. What? Present set are 2 and 6 solutions to x plus 2. No, it's not.
What's the answer? So, what's the explanation?
Because you have
No,
to solve,
why?
Because it said
you have to solve.
equal to 0.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You have to set binomial equal to 0, then you have to solve the variable.
Good. So, the explanation? No, not set to 0 and then solved.
What?
Here, this is the explanation right here. No, because it was not set to 0 and then solved. All they did was write down what they saw. That's not how it goes. It's hard to read that part, this one. How about that? Okay. 4x minus 2. So 4x minus 2 equals 0. Go.
I didn't get, I'm sorry, I got lost a little bit. What'd you say?
4x minus 2.
4x minus 2 equals 0.
Minus 2.
Solve it.
Isn't it gonna be x equals 2?
No. Chris, close? Yeah, done? Oh, let me know. I'm waiting for you.
So I got 0.5.
Is that a 5 or a?
It's a 5. Well, we would never put two variables next to each other inside a pair of binomials.
So the roots are what?
So who has the two answers?
I have one answer.
Well,
X is 2 for 4.
it's not.
It's 2 for 4x.
It's-
It is.
But don't convert it to a decimal.
Isn't that equals 0?
Negative 0.6.
Don't convert it to a decimal.
Negative 0.6.
0.5.
That's a decimal.
5. There. Negative.
10.600.
6.
Aha. See?
Well, you need to recognize your halves. 2 is half of 4. 3 is half of 6. 10 is half of 20. 5 is half of 10. You need to recognize your halves. It'll help to memorize it, but 2 is half of 4. So mathematically, you divide the top and the bottom, and it's 1 over 2. Because 2 goes into both numbers.
Can we do the next one then? Ourselves.
Equals 0. So what's the first step?
Subtract the 3.
Subtract 3.
Then you divide. You bring down the 5.
Bring down means what?
1.6, so that's 1 half 4. 4. 3/5. See?
Now, shouldn't this be a negative right there? So that means that this is a negative right here. It's negative 3/5 in case you can't see it.
Oh, it's a negative 3?
Well, yeah, because right here, this is negative. That's negative, so this has to be negative. So here's your two answers. If you're done, put your pencil down.
She's gonna kick you. When she says she's gonna kick you.
Get your head up. Or drop the class. Choose.
Oh, God, why did this go?
Uh-oh.
What the? What kind of work of madness is this?
Close.
2 questions. What are the roots and what's a vertex? And that trinomial equals the binomial. So if you were to multiply the binomial, it would equal the trinomial. But what are the roots? We just learned. Now we need to remember the vertex formula. Don't pick. So who remembers the vertex formula?
No.
Because the learning that we had 2 weeks ago, last month, we need to bring it forward and it has to stay with us. You can't flush it. So the vertex formula is negative b over 2a. But to do that, we need to label our ABCs. What are the ABCs? What's A? Shh. What is A? What's A? 1. What's B? 6. What's C? 8. So if we have negative b divided by 2a, which is the vertex formula, first of all, what are the roots?
-2 and -4.
And what?
And -4.
Okay, on the number line are -2, 1, and -4 close together? On a number line are -2 and -4.
Yeah.
So is that going to be a skinny thing if the lines have to come through those 2 things? It's pretty skinny. So let's find the vertex. What's the b value?